This instrument, oh, this plane. Well, it's not exactly used a great deal now, but there was a particular woodworker who's really well known by furniture makers, James Krenoff, who died fairly recently. He used to make his own planes and make the most beautiful handmade furniture. Anybody who makes furniture would have read all his books, and it's got the feeling about woodwork. And this is really the sort of plane he made. I do use it. It's all beech with a bit of rosewood. The blade is a very old one, which must be turn of the century, probably 19th century, early 1900s, 1800s. It's cast steel, much thicker than you can get now, and it planes beautifully, but no doubt very expensive to make.
Well, I was always interested in craft work. I mean, I entered things in ice Stedfords and things when I was young, model making. But woodwork, really, I suppose once I started secondary school, I just enjoyed it right from square one. I had a particularly good woodwork teacher who really sort of inspired me. And up to O level, and then that was it really. I was fixed. I suppose most of my training came as I was early on at school, and after that I'm pretty well self-taught until quite late on in career. My father was always made furniture. It was stuff for the home. He never nothing professional, but he was quite a good carpenter. I had to give up woodwork before O level, so I had nothing at that stage. But the later on, as I entered teaching, I did do the timetabling, so I managed to get myself on City and Guilds courses, short courses, and part one of a degree in furniture design. But that was just whilst working on another career. I don't have any specific inspiration, but I always have to have a project going. I'm a bit of a wood junkie, and if I'm not doing something, I get the withdrawal. So once I feel it coming, I've really got to get on, find something. It might be something I see, something we need in the home, but something will come after the adrenaline rush. Once I know what it is I'm going to make, I start off really with sketch drawings, ideas, lots of rough work. Finally, I draw up a plan. Then I usually might make a mock-up and see what it looks like. Sometimes go into shops and have a look, make measurements on furniture that's been made like it, but then I get started. Once I know what I'm going to make, the first thing I do is decide what timber I might want it in. I have to source that, and it's quite hard getting timber these days. Then I make measurements from the drawings I've made. I'd have a stock list of sizes of timber, and then I machine them so I've got roughly the sizes I want, and then the fine work starts from that stock that I get. Making a piece of furniture is not really like painting, where you can very much overwork it and you have to stop a certain time. Furniture making, generally speaking, the longer you spend, the more precise you are, the better the piece will be. And so there really isn't an end until you can see that you're not making any more improvements. Very hard to give an average time to how long I spend on a piece. I mean, if I make a pepper mill, something like that, I've made and finished a pepper mill in the morning. Picture frame, might do the moulding, do that in a day. I have spent several months on making tables and chairs for people, so it's hard to give a specific time. Probably the two longest things that I've ever done are making rocking horses. That might take 2 or 3 months before you finish, because you've got to make all the parts and the leather work and everything. For somebody else, the longest project, I worked for someone nearly a year on making all their dining furniture, and the table must have taken me 2.5, 3 months, but that's a fairly long time. Favourite piece, I think it's a piece that I made for my wife. It's a display cabinet which we've got in our own home, and I particularly like it because it's made in the style of a carpenter who died some recent years, whose style I particularly liked, a Danish carpenter, and it's in a Danish style. It was quite a difficult piece, but I quite like that, I think. My favourite tools, well, most of my favourite tools are old tools. Tools today are not made the same as they used to be. I've got a particularly nice old Stanley plane, which has been well worn in. It works beautifully. It's got a brand new blade. That's probably my favourite. I've also got some wooden spoke shaves, which you can't get nowadays, but they don't work like new ones. And again, that's tools that I like. I have got quite a lot of machinery, but machinery really I regard as just something to get wood to the shape where you could actually start making. The hand tool work is what's important. I've got a big machine that planes and saws. I've got a large bandsaw, a lathe. They're probably the major tools that I use. Things that I've made really that I've for myself have been benches. If you're a carpenter, you don't buy a bench, you make it, and it should be heavy and strong and well made. Also toolboxes, tool shelves, things like that. Things around the workshop that I think any woodworker has. I've got quite a lot of hand-me-down tools. They're old tools, so I like them, but they also have a value because they're relatives' tools. Friends have given me tools. If you're into a craft, you tend to find people who've got things that they don't want themselves, they pass on to you. So I have got quite a lot of those. Well, not sounding big-headed, but no, I think generally speaking, when I start something, I know how it will finish up, and I'm fairly confident that I can do it. Always have been with woodwork. The exception probably is when the first time you do something, the first time I made dovetail, if it came up well, you think, well, that's nice because you didn't know you could achieve it because you've not done it before. But generally speaking, no, things turn out as I want them to. The joy of woodwork really is in the making. Once a piece is finished, I don't usually think too much about it. I move on to the next piece. The exception probably was I made some chairs for somebody once. They wanted 12 and I made a 13th in case there was a fault. And I actually gave it to them at the end. And I thought I didn't need to do that. And I thought perhaps maybe I should have kept it because it was a nice chair. I like all forms of craft work, but particularly woodwork. I just feel driven that I have to do it. After a certain length of time not doing it, I get withdrawn. I have to get back to it. I love wood. I love the grain of wood, the unpredictability of wood, and I just like furniture. I go to exhibitions. I like seeing other people's furniture. I'm just in love with wood.